Stockholm because I know nothing about it. But it's a really beautiful city. Going into that side, well, it was so tan, and you know, it feels disgusting because it's so white and everyone here is sort of tan. Where is actually the palace? I've been trying to work that out. Yeah? Go around. Is it here that building that's got that big spire with the three? No, that's the town. Oh. You'd like to have that in the yeah. Things have gone crazy since you were there. Well, here we are sort of floating around Stockholm, and I know nothing about it, so Bjorn, perhaps you can tell me, first of all, that thing there has had me absolutely fascinated, that old ship. What's the story on that?
It's called von Chapman, and it's right now a youth hostel.
What, an actual youth hostel?
Yeah. It was used in movies and things like that. I wonder if it wasn't in Windjammer. Maybe.
Might have been.
Yeah. It's a beautiful boat. Anyway.
Are there many of those boats around?
No.
No?
No, it's probably the only one.
And over, I'm dying to see the palace. It's behind me, is it?
It's not very beautiful.
That's the actual palace there?
Yeah. That's the actual place where they live.
And I've been told that the King and Queen actually do live there?
Yeah.
Yeah? And talking about the King and Queen, I believe that a story I've been told by one of your DJs is that you performed Dancing Queen the night before they got married in front of them at some gala happening. What, can you just tell me a little about that?
Well, it was called a soirée, and many Swedish artists were invited.
Yeah, they tried to get those sort of world famous artists. Mainly opera singers, that kind of stuff. We were the only pop. The rest was very serious music. I mean, like classical opera.
Do you think they enjoyed it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. I think so. Because they are young.
Yeah.
So I would say like.
And how many numbers did you do for them?
One.
Just the one, Dancing Queen. And he was also saying that you had to get dressed up, you wore big wigs and things like that in the old tradition.
That's right.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh, they were beautiful. Oh, incredible.
Well, they're beautiful anyhow.
You know,
with Australia, just going back on your popularity there, does it surprise you that you are so big? You have been out once to Australia and seen it for yourself, but does it surprise you?
Well, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the other side of the earth, isn't it? It's very far from here. And why Australia?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't got the answer.
When you first won the Eurovision Song Contest with Waterloo, and knowing the sort of the history and the background of European artists cracking it into the world charts in any big way, like, I mean, you'd be lucky if a European artist could sort of, you know, sustain something for say 6 months. They may have a freak number one. Did you at that stage think that in a year's time you'd be one of the hottest acts around the world?
No, I don't think we ever thought about that. I mean, we didn't even think about we would win the Eurovision Song Contest. At least I didn't.
Yeah. What about you as a songwriter?
No, I think if you're talking about the contest, I thought we had a good chance because we had a different song from all the others. Normally it's very not very many up-tempo songs, and well, we had a good chance, I thought.
Now, with success of your songs, obviously, say with Waterloo, and it was in for a competition like the Eurovision Song Contest. Did you write it with a commercial thing in mind, or was it just a song that you'd written and you thought, well, that'll do for the Eurovision Song Contest and may help win it for you?
We picked it from, I think we wrote 11 songs, and we had them, and we said, let's take the best one, the one we liked most, no matter if it's suitable for the purpose, which is, I mean, it was, but it shouldn't have, compared to all the other Eurovision festivals. It was very outstanding.
In fact, you know, at that time we had the Hasta Mañana,
Yes.
which would have been more in line with the rest of the songs of the competition.
We choose between the two numbers.
Yeah.
Waterloo and...
We just choose Waterloo because we felt that we could give it the most, you know. It was Abba.
Actually, yes, there's just been a hit just recently in Australia that also sort of crept into the charts of...
Another flip side?
I don't know. Yeah, I think it must have been, actually.
What song?
Yes, Manana.
Yeah.
It's actually an Australian girl
Yeah, I've heard it.
recorded
Yeah,
it,
good
Judy
one.
Stone.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they knew it was an ABBA number, bang, it was into the charts
really?
yours as well, yeah.
She's a good singer, I think.
Yes, she is. She's a very nice singer. Stig, your manager, was telling me that that originally you were known when you came from from different groups, you and Bourne, and the girls then started working with you, but you were known still as Benny and Bourne.
From the beginning, yes, because we had a couple of years ago, must have been in 71 or 1970s, I think, a number 3 in Japan with a song called She's My Kind of Girl that Bjorn and I wrote and recorded under our names. And we kind of wanted to keep it, our names, as long as possible, just because of that, you know. And we've been working for around 9-10 years writing songs and sending them out to all publishers in America and England and Germany, so they knew a little about us. I mean, not the public, but people in the business. But that's the reason why it was like that. But it's too complicated, too hard to handle all the 4 names, so we changed.
Well, that's what he was saying. He said, as Stig said, it became really difficult when he had to, and I can't pronounce them in Swedish, but when he had to sort of pronounce the 4 names, he felt quite ridiculous.
Yeah.
Frida, when did you first meet up with the 2 boys?
I met Benny first of all in 1969, and then he had worked together with Bjorn for a long time, so that way I met Bjorn also, you know. And I fell madly in love with him, and so how it started.
And when did you first start singing with Benny and Bourne?
It was 71.
71.
Yes, 1971.
And what about you, Anna?
Yes, it was at the same time, but
Yes.
Frida and I was solo singers, you know,
And very
before.
successful, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
More successful than we were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we started, you know, to do some chorus for them.
So in actual fact, starting off then around about 1973, you were actually treated more as session singers more than just working as far as your records were concerned.
Yeah, from the
Is that
beginning,
correct?
Abba was definitely more a session group.
Yeah. But as far as the 2 girls were concerned, they were more or less hired on a session basis, were they?
Oh, well, yeah, I guess you could say that for the first 2 singles.
Not as Abba.
Well, is it true then that the first time you actually used the name on a big scale was because of the Eurovision Song Contest, that you're known then as Abba?
Yes.
We started to use the name then.
And I believe also, Stig, your manager was saying that that Abba also is a fish firm, or...
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
It's a, what do you call it, herring fish company.
Yeah. After Waterloo and the success of Waterloo, which was also the first hit you had in Australia, there was a gap of around about 6 months. And I Do was the follow-up to Waterloo, and I believe that that I Do SOS and Mamma Mia were in actual fact recorded all together at around about the same time. Is that correct?
That's right. That's right.
And I Do started to take off on the Australian charts in a small way, and then we had Mamma Mia through television and that, and bang, it went to #1 like that. Did you ever think that Mamma Mia was a potential single?
Oh, well, I don't have.
I think, honestly, I didn't believe in that song.
No?
No.
Well, I know that all four of us thought that I Do was the strongest number on the album, but I think Benny thought Mamma Mia was pretty good.
What did you think of Mamma Mia?
I like it very much, yes. But it's always, if you don't have a distance to what you've been doing, I mean, like we're working now with a new album.
Yeah, right.
We got something like 9 numbers. It's very hard to kind of tell what they are like before you've finished.
Well, were you surprised then that Mamma Mia was went to #1 in Australia in such a short time like that, after it had been released as a single?
No, not really surprised,
No?
I think, because we always thought it was a good number.
Pleased?
Yeah. Very pleased, yeah.
And then I Do was the next hit, and then it started to really roll. You'd been to Australia by this stage for that promotional visit, and then I Do took off. I can't keep up with all of this because there's so many after this. And then there was SOS, and you had a lot of people sort of, DJs sort of thinking, well, when is it going to end? They must run out of songs soon. And probably the most incredible thing was that they're all in the one batch of songs. Well, we've gone through the string of hits, which is an amazing amount of hits, and we've finally come to the one that's the current seller in Australia at the moment and all across the world, which is Dancing Queen. Can you just tell us a little about how you actually wrote Dancing Queen and what it is about?
Well, it's about it's a girl, ordinary girl, and she only lives actually when she's in the disco dancing.
There is one funny thing about it. I can tell you, I think it's the first song we wrote when Bjorn played electric guitar while we were writing, because he normally uses acoustic.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why it came up, because it's a different sound when you sit down with only a piano and a guitar. Nothing really happens. You have to think in your head about drums and bass and all that, and the electric guitar makes a lot of the feel from the beginning.
Works really well. What about Money, Money, Money? Was that written with an electric guitar as well?
No.
That's really got a push behind it.
No, that's more a piano number, I think.
And do you like it? I know one should never ask artists what is their favourite song. But
Just now, you mean?
yeah, well, forever. But is Dancing Queen one of your favourites?
No, actually not. It's a new one called That's Me.
That's Me.
Will come in our next album.
Oh, it's the flip side.
Yeah,
it's the flip side.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Oh no, is it?
Don't
Well,
you
there's
like
two
it?
hits. Oh no, I'm not saying that. I was just thinking of flip sides. Sure to be a double A. And Frida, what's your favourite song?
Oh, I like Dancing Queen very much. I had the same feeling as Anna told you about before.
Yeah.
When you freeze on a song. That's how I felt for Dancing Queen. But I like, I think the best one now is Money, Money, Money.
Yeah. What about Fernando?
Oh, yes.
All right.
It's a very good tune.
Yeah.
Actually, a very good melody.
Yeah.
I think so, at
She's
least.
very kind.
Yes, she's
No, but
very
I
good.
like
Yeah.
the songs. Honestly, I do.
And I have to ask you this. Apparently, the promotional film clip of Fernando is not done on a beach somewhere.
No, it's inside the studio.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the stars are big.
Two big stars.
Right. Okay, well now the $1 million question for Australian listeners and viewers and record buyers.
What color is an orange?
What colour is an orange? No. Yeah, that's for Queensland, all right. For New South Wales, Victoria and the rest, and Queensland, are you going to come back to Australia? And are you going to tour? And can we see you live in concert?
Yes.
Saying any more than that? Frida?
Yes, hopefully we are coming back in March.
In March?
Yes,
yeah.
and doing a tour.
We had vague plans about going there in November for a tour.
Yeah.
But we had to postpone that because we didn't find the time.
Yeah.
But now we really want to come in March.
Fantastic. So we'll probably see you open in an open-air concert venue.
Hopefully, yeah.
Well, I suggest you start booking. I don't know. I won't even say how to get your tickets because I think there could be massacre on the streets. Okay. With your songwriting and the fact that that every song seems to have that commercial success about it, just that bit of magic. Yet every song sounds different. Do you purposely sort of, when you're doing an album, sort of make not only the songs sound different, but the sounds within the in the recording?
Yeah. I think that's essential, that you change all the time. It's easy in the beginning just to copy what you've done, what you've had success with, but in the long run, it's better to change.
I mean, for instance, like SOS and I Do are perhaps similar, but when I heard Rock Me for the first time, I just didn't even imagine it was you, that it was one of your records at the start.
No.
Okay. With Rock Me, I mean, it does sound totally different from anything else that had been around at that time. Well, what is your approach when you go into a recording studio?
Well, what we have is basically a song, a melody. Sometimes we don't even have the lyrics, and we don't have any prejudices about how to do it. It just develops while we're working in the studio. As far as the backing track is concerned, and then when the girls put on the vocals, it can change again. So we never know what's going to come out.
Well, for instance, when you two sit down, do you actually sit down and write songs together, or is it sort of like an Elton John, Bernie Taupin situation where one may write the lyrics and then go, no?
No, we do all the job together.
Yeah.
When we write songs, that's very important. I mean, you get influences, and somebody can say, well, I don't like that, so let's forget about it.
Yeah.
We always try to achieve a feeling that we both feel that this is what we want. Yeah. And as Bjorn said, the essential thing is to get a hook to put the rest of the song around. I think it's very important, and that's what we mainly are looking for. That takes a lot of time, especially if you want to keep changing different styles.
Now that with the success on the world charts, does it place extra pressure on you now, the fact that you have been so successful and that you must sort of keep up to that #1 position all the time? Do you worry about that?
Not exactly worry, but it is a pressure, and it takes more and more time for each song we're making. Especially when we, let's say, we finish an album and we go on promotion tours, and then after a couple of months starting again, it takes a very long time before anything happens at all. So the best thing is to keep going all the time and keep it fluent.
When Benny and Bourne come up with a batch of songs and play them to you, do you have any sort of disagreement about how it should be performed?
Yes, sometimes we have, but actually it usually is so good, so we don't have to change anything,
Thank you.
And our work mainly begins when we come to the studio and do the vocals.
Do you like working in a recording studio, Anna?
I love it.
Yeah?
I think that's the best of the whole thing, to work in the studio. I really love that.
when when you're recording the song, say for an album, and say like take the album that had I Do and SOS on it, in the middle of recording it, do you feel that could be the single, that could be our next single? Do you get that
It
feeling?
happens that sometimes that you could freeze when
Yeah.
you sing, you know. And we had that feeling about I Do.
Yeah.
I felt this is going to be something.
Now, on the visual side, who works out the choreography between you and Frida?
We have a man called Graham Tainton, and we usually go and dance with him twice a week.
Yeah. Because it became sort of, especially with Mamma Mia, with the different faces going like that, I think...
Oh yes.
That's another guy doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the idea from the director of the film.
Of the film. Because that was a great idea, that.
That's good.
Suddenly found all young groups all sort of going like that with girls in them. No, I'm exaggerating there a bit, I guess. No, I'm exaggerating there a bit, I guess. I used to do it with my hands, you know, I used to do an Abba impersonation with my hands. I've just heard your new single. I've just heard a new record that you've just come out with, and just completed in the recording studios, which I'm told could be the new single after Dancing Queen, which is Money, Money.
Money, 3 times.
Money, money, money. I see.
It's a rich man's world.
And I'm sort of always sort of being a pop critic. I think, well, you know, perhaps there's got to be a lull, and yet I think perhaps Money, Money, Money is one of the best things you've ever done.
Yeah, thank you.
If not the best.
Yeah, very good.
And when did you actually? How long ago did you write that song?
2-3 months ago.
Yeah. And how long, for instance, would you spend just recording that one song in the studio? Could you give me an estimate on that?
Not so long, I think. Quite
Yeah.
easy.
Because we had a clear idea about how we wanted it.
Yeah.
So it had in itself a certain mood that you can keep.
What about Fernando? Did that take long?
That's a very long time. We made, I think, at least 2 different backing tracks before we did this one, and lots of overdubbing and all that.
Have there been many songs that you've recorded that have been scrubbed, for instance, that we may never ever hear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Oh.
The worst of Abba. We'll release that one when we...
Yeah.
I might sneak in. I might find out your recording studio and sneak in, make a fortune.
We've been playing with that idea, actually.
Yeah. The worst of ever.
The worst of ever. In 5 years' time or something.
I wonder how you do a film
Fun.
clip of all of that.
We'll have to do a very bad
A reverse.
film clip.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Just going back to Stockholm, if you could just show us back in Australia, that tower over there. What's that big tower that dominates over Stockholm?
That's the, what do you call it, yeah?
The what?
Cookie Nose Tower.
Cookie Nose Tower.
And what does it actually? I mean, what is it there for?
It's a restaurant.
It's a
and,
restaurant
Yeah.
on the top.
it's just for the good view. I don't know why they made it.
Yeah.
And I think
Transmitted to, I think.
yes,
Some
it
sort.
is.
Oh yeah, maybe, yeah.
And for aeroplanes.
Yeah.
To the line.
Yeah.
And this part here, they say there's the old Stockholm and the new Stockholm.
Well, the old Stockholm is in there.
Can we just turn
You
it?
see the church? That's the old Stockholm.
The old Stockholm is over.
It's
No,
over there.
Over
behind
here.
you.
Does it take you around Burnham?
A rolling now.
We've finally found the old Stockholm. Yeah? And is that actually the oldest part of Stockholm around, is there? So where is the main business centre? What that thing that's just coming through now over there? That like a church? Is that actually a church? In the old part of Stockholm itself.
And well, the business part of town is right there.
That really old grand place there. What's that there?
That's a dramatic theatre where Bergman used to work, among others, while he was in Sweden. He's left now, as you know.
Yes, there's some really beautiful old buildings around that they keep restoring.
Especially in the old part of town.
Yeah.
That's where we live right now.
And this big church over here, No?
Museum.
Is it?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of restoration going on then in Stockholm itself.
Yeah. Yes, they try to keep as much as possible.
Yeah.
They've done the mistakes before to just tear it down and build up new buildings, but I think they're trying to restore now.
It really is a beautiful city. Have you all lived here for you actually haven't all lived here for most of your lives?
No.
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've born in Stockholm.
I moved in 7 years ago, about.
Yeah,
And you, Anna?
I have lived here for 10 years.
For 10 years.
Yeah.
yeah, roughly the same for me.
Yeah. And I guess you wouldn't swap it for anywhere else?
I don't think so, no.
I'll tell you what, I'd like to come and live here actually. It is really a beautiful city. Oh, thanks. I'd have to try to find perhaps if I find the worst of Abba taste, I might be able to come and live here.